Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Sony Alpha A6000. This is the successor to the Sony NEX6 that I covered last year, arguably one of the best mirrorless interchangeable lens cameras of its time, and it still fares very well today. So a lot of high expectations for the A6000, especially since Sony announced it and showed off its incredible autofocus system. So let me tell you about pricing. We're looking at $799.99 for essentially the same kit we got with the NEX6 at $899.99, but with all the enhancements of this brand new generation of camera. Many believe this is also the successor to the NEX7, but I would argue until we actually have some official word or there isn't a leak to support a replacement, don't rule it out. All of that aside, I think at $800, this is an incredible value. It's also a product of Sony cutting back or cutting some corners, but for the most part, I think this camera is an upgrade in every way. We're working with an APS-C class sensor, now rated at 24.3 megapixels. That's why a lot of people think it replaced the 7. And that's definitely a big improvement from the 16 that the NEX6 offered. We also have the same fast hybrid contrast and phase detection system integrated into this camera, but it has been improved tremendously. We're bumped up to 11 frames per second continuous autofocus now. This is also driven by the Bions X processor. This is Sony's latest generation of processor that's driving pretty much every high-end piece of DI equipment that they're selling to consumers. You do have an OLED true viewfinder that is an electronic viewfinder, and even though it doesn't have the same resolution as last generation, I still expect it to get the job done well. So that's one of the areas where Sony has cut a corner for some users, but in my opinion, getting the price down clearly to Sony was an important move, and I think it will benefit consumers at the same time. Keep in mind the kit lens that comes with this, the 16-50, is solid for the extra money you're going to spend to buy this kit, but if you already have E-mount glass, then I don't really need to tell you, get the body alone. I will include links for both this kit as well as the body in the description. Other than that, of course, 1080p capture capability. I'm not going to go through accessories today. You do have DLNA certification, 4K capability because you do have 4K resolution with regard to stills, but not video. You'll be working with AVC HD still, 28 megabit per second cap for 1080p video. You can also go with MP4. Nothing really new about that. That's definitely more friendly for sharing on the web, smaller file size, higher compression. In terms of other features, access to the Play memory store so you can buy apps. NFC will allow you to more seamlessly launch everything, well, particularly the smart remote control is what I should say. And that pretty much rounds things out. Also, Sony's Triluminous color has been part or branded, integrated into the brand new A6000. So let me go ahead and get this box open, and let's take a look at this camera. And really, the autofocus is the big bragging right. So we've got the limited warranty, some quick start guides, some accessories, a discount code. Let's get the paperwork out of here and get to what we really want to see, which is the camera itself. So first and foremost, let me get rid of the accessories. We get a camera strap, Alpha branded, which in my opinion is a good thing. I'm a fan of the black and orange, if you all didn't know that already, subscribers. Seems like a decent strap. And then, of course, your power brick AC adapter to connect to the wall to actually charge the camera, because you will have to charge the battery on board. No external charger. No Sony camera actually supports it. There you have a W series battery, which I'm noticing they've rebranded, all black now. So a change in manufacturing, I'm assuming. Maybe they aren't made in the same place. I'm taking a look right now. I would imagine it's still made in China, even though they used to make their cells in Japan. Either way, that's the first time I saw a W series battery that was just simply black. We have our eye cup right there. And then lastly, our micro USB charging cable that you connect to that AC wall adapter that I just showed you a moment ago. This is also referred to as Sony by their multi-port interface, because this allows you, not this cable, but that micro USB port to connect all sorts of additional accessories. Really, the most important one is the remote that I covered in the past. So if you want a trigger for your camera. So let's get the A6000 out. Now they did shift to more polycarbonates, more plastic on the body of this camera. So that's something that a lot of people, I won't say we're complaining about, but we're noting. In my opinion, right now, out of the box, the camera has some nice weight to it. It feels substantial. Considering that anyone had anything negative to say about build quality, I'm kind of surprised. I do understand where they're coming from in terms of wishing that, you know, the metallic build of the NEX7 or even other models was, you know, here, but I have to say I do like the fit and finish of this camera more than the NEX6 right out of the box, because it does have that matte finish rather than that grain texture that the 6 sported. This is back to the 7's look, but you don't get the metal, you do have a plastic build. You can see the kit 16 to 50 mil lens that I mentioned before, power zoom pancake. I do like it. I think it's a great starting piece of glass for any user brand new to photography, or the NEX now Alpha line of APS-C mirrorless interchangeable lens cameras. Now we don't have Sony's the NEX7's tri-nav you know, actual array here, but we have something that resembles it. Clearly Sony borrowed from that engineering. We have our mode dial and a control dial right here. Power switch, shutter button, customizable button, our flash right here, and some NFC and Wi-Fi cert branding covering the multi-interface shoe, which Sony no longer even puts a cap in. So another clear sign. I guess that's a way to save a little bit of extra money. They aren't actually putting a cap in the multi-interface shoe anymore. Again, these are just my observations. For those of you that subscribe, you know I see enough of these products. In terms of the grip, things look pretty much the same, as does the location of the video record button. Most of the layout of the buttons here is very similar. A little bit of a redesign, and when I actually do a comparison directly with the NEX6, you will see it. The electronic viewfinder flush to the left, as it's always been with NEX and now Alpha A1000 branded cameras. But that pretty much sums it up. You do have an articulating display, nothing new. This is something that's been present on every NEX camera to date. They've just improved upon the range of motion over time. Here on the left side of the camera, we have access to the HDMI out, as well as the multi port that I mentioned before, which will allow you to charge your battery as well as use some optional accessories. Wi-Fi branding right here. On the bottom of the camera, we have access to the battery. W-type, again, is the battery you're going to need for this camera, like any NEX or now Alpha mirrorless interchangeable camera from Sony. And then you have your SD card slot, which also still does accept memory stick. It is a dual slot with a single actual physical slot. Your tripod mount right there, and that pretty much rounds things out. You got your NFC contact point on the handle, and the grip is really nice. That's something that I'm glad they maintained. That's part of the signature of the NEX6 and 7, specifically ergonomics, professional look. This is a cleaner looking camera, in my opinion, than the NEX6. And in terms of performance, because we have that bump up in the sensor, new sensor with a higher megapixel count, faster hybrid autofocus than any other mirrorless camera on the market. If I didn't mention that earlier, that is the bragging right for a reason. This is the fastest mirrorless interchangeable lens camera on the market when it comes to continuous autofocus now, or at least that's where Sony has pegged it. Of course, I will put this camera through the paces, but I'm just excited to see it, because it's been a long time since it was announced, and I will be able to test this with a lot of other glass, specifically FE lenses, for those of you curious about performance with the big brand new FE 70 to 200. That's going to be, that's something I'm curious about. With all of the brand new autofocus, capability, how will that pair up with a lens like that. But overall, the quality, the build quality, looks good, and I expect really good things out of this brand new A6000. The sensor, autofocus, Wi-Fi, NFC, some additional manual controls here, as well as I didn't boot up the camera because I don't expect any charge on that battery. We also have a clean menu system now. We're not looking at the old interface that the NEX6 had, which for many users was probably the biggest gripe that they possibly could have had with the entire line. So a lot of advantages to what may seem to be an incremental update, and in my opinion, a great value right now at $800. And of course, with time, the price will only go down. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.